Ukraine has just had another major success in the world of chess. 15-year-old women FIDE master Anastasiia Hnatyshyn, I hope I'm pronouncing that sort of all right, just won the Europeans Women Championship. Just a month ago, I actually made a video about another huge upset in that time in the men's or in the Open European Championship when 2400, I believe like seeded 120 something international master Roman Detyarov won the men's championship. So he finished first. And now, just a month later, Anastasia wins the women's championship. So she entered the competition as rated 2207. And as you can see by the text and by the title, she's the lowest seed ever to win the European this competition. So just an amazing feat. She scored, actually, let me check, 9 out of 11, winning her first 6 rounds in a row. Like, apart from the first round, all against much higher rated opposition. And then finally, she lost a game and then went on to win some more games and winning the tournament. This is, I cannot put into words how much of a crazy, like, underdog story this is. She gained a whopping 214 ELO points, and apparently she had already won 50 points in some other tournament this month. So she went from 2207 to 2460 or something, putting her well in the elite range of women's chess. And she also gets an IM norm and a direct WGM title. So just an amazing feat. And today I want to look at some of her best games, some of my favorite games of hers in this tournament. So let's get right into it. As you can see, that's a photo of her winning the event. It just finished today, and it was held in Batumi, Georgia, where I also played in like a couple of months ago in the European Team Championship. Okay, so the first round she was playing below. Apart from that, she was playing again against like 2370 or 2400 opposition every single round, and she was crushing them all. Just this was one of the most unbelievable things to watch live that I've ever seen, honestly. But also with the win of as I said, of Roman Detyarov in the open section just a month ago. I mean, like nowadays we're almost sort of getting used to these crazy upsets, but like trust me when I say this, like this didn't used to happen at all. Okay, so the first round, this is very this happens quite often when you know when you get such a crazy streak like this, you start winning every single game. Usually the first rounds were a bit calmer, and then you just start picking up some pace, and at some point, the moves just flow out of right out of your fingertips, and it seems like every decision you make is good, every move that you can think of is good, and that's what's gonna happen to her in just a few rounds. But the first game she also played excellent. But to be fair, her 1600 rated opponent here with the white pieces, I should be showing this from Black's perspective. Her opponent was 1600 and she was playing a very decent game. For example, here, yeah, Queen d3. Black shouldn't take this because there's Queen d7 attacking all these pieces. So just g6, a3, King g7. She just consolidates her position a bit. And then once her opponent gives her a chance, Queen b5, attacking this one, but it's a tactical mistake. So here Black should play and win. Already an amazing shot in the first round. The move is knight c3. And Black pretty much wins because this is a fork and there's this problem of this other fork incoming. So, okay, so what the hell is this knight doing just on freeze? Okay, the point is we're coming in with a check, and then we get rid of this defender, and then Queen g5, and that's all she wrote. That is all she has written in all of her life. And okay, her opponent played Queen c4, but now just Rook c8 and another relatively easier tactic to find, or much easier, knight e2. And that's done. So first round in the books. And now she just starts playing up every single round. So second round against Marina Brunello, rated 2346, and I am from Italy. I believe she's, well, I don't want to say anything wrong. I don't know if she's related to Sabina Brunello, or like her wife or sister or something. I don't know. She's definitely related. They have the same surname. And okay, she plays this sort of offbeat variation of the knight or the classical Sicilian, whatever, with bishop d3, and goes for this setup with b3. This is not very common, but man, in these middle games, she was just crushing everyone, just always getting huge advantages and just completely milking the positions to the best of her ability. Knight a4, queen d2. White's already much better. The knight needed to go to d7 here, and probably set up with e6 and sort of chill out and control these squares. Knight g4 was a bit too much because now the knight just became completely offside. f4, this one comes in, bishop goes back, also a great move. White has more space, there's no reason to trade pieces, so just bishop f1. And just watch how smoothly she's going to convert this position. Bishop d3, the knight goes back. Okay, you can take, you get rid of one piece, but I mean, look at all these pieces. They're completely boxed in. White's just coming through with, natural moves, and probably black is even going to have to play e6 at some point to stop this breakthrough. And again, white just has all the fun here. White's completely winning. But it's one thing to have a winning position, and it's another one to win it. And man, she was getting the winning positions and converting them every single time. She pushes the A pawn, pushes the C pawn, gets a breakthrough. Black is just waiting around all game. Knight e4, bishop c5. Continues pushing the pawns. Just a complete massacre. Yeah, shuffles a bit more, trades some pieces, and finally pounces on the weaknesses. e6, queen e5. Opens up the king a bit. Doesn't want the queen exchange, of course. Watch out for the forks. I mean, I'm going through the moves quickly because there's a lot to show, but if you've ever played chess, well, in this final shot, rook b8, also very pretty. If you take the bishop, I'm taking, well, either rook, but then just rook b8 is coming in. If you've ever played chess, especially over the board, you know that it's, there's tricks right up until the very end, and you can never just relax and sort of coast on the position. You always have to be alert and looking for opportunities for yourself or your opponent. Okay, with black, she was mostly adopting this Sicilian, which is anyways one of the preferred Sicilians by the computer and probably the most popular option nowadays. People, when you go into the open Sicilian, they want to. Well, usually they're going for the Sveshnikov nowadays, but there's tons of fashionable options. Also, the four knights is all the rage, and even the Kalashnikov, which is this early e5. So people have started to play the Rossolimo much more ever since the Carlsen Caruana World Championship match. Okay, and it always leads to, well, especially this line with e6, I should say, always leads to these funky types of positions where black seemingly is, disrespecting all of the basic opening principles, like weakening their king, and you're not really developing anything. But the position is so close that these positions are more about the structure and how well you can maneuver your pieces around and sort of play with the pawns. Okay, white goes d4, and now this early queen exchange. So yeah, and in this game she'll completely outplay her opponent in an endgame. That's also something like amazing to see about her game, Anastasia's game. Like she managed to outplay, again, much stronger opposition in complicated middle games, in attacking positions, defensive positions, and end games, positions with the queen or with the queens on, just everything. Just a complete brilliancy of a tournament. Okay, queen b5, we get down to the endgame. And soon she'll just grab a great position. Already black's sort of for choice here because you have the bishop pair and the position is very stable. Okay, bishop b7, g6, gets this file for the rook. And now c4, knight c6, bishop b2. I mean, already after c4, again, she immediately, like just this sixth sense to be able to immediately capitalize on the opponent's mistakes. When you're playing at the chessboard, it's not clear that your opponent just made a move. She's very high rated and so on. You assume that it has an idea. Of course, the direct idea here is just to win a pawn, and you're trying to see how you should react to it, whether you should play defensive move or whatever. But just this sense to immediately understand that it's a mistake and be able to find the refutation is just really something to admire. Okay, so knight c6, this is a great move, because if you take on f8, I'm taking on d4, and I'm already winning material, because I'm threatening this nasty mate, which is called... Am I crazy, or is this called Anastasia's mate? I think it is, actually. I think this specific mate with the knight and the rook in chess literature, is called Anastasia's mate, which is quite funny. Instead, Sabrina went bishop b2, her opponent, but now just this follow-up of a beautiful shot. Well, it's pretty much the same idea. Bishop a3. Very nice deflection. It needs to be taken, and after knight d4, again, we have this mate. Okay, and what's the big deal? We can definitely defend against that, but there's also knight c2. So this was the game. She grabs the material, and then goes on to smoothly, again, convert the game. d5, you cannot take en passant because the bishop is hanging. She takes here, but now opens up the bishop again, gets all of the pieces flowing into the right places, gives up the pawns at the right times. I mean, I can't really explain much. And the rooks come in, and finally she resigns. Her opponent, Sabrina Vega, also had an amazing tournament, and actually at some point she was very close, like neck and neck with Anastasia, up until the very end, I think, like the 9th round or 10th. And she could also have swooped at some point, but it just wasn't meant to be. It was really Anastasia's time. Okay, the next game she was playing another one of the higher seeds, Mainarva, from Estonia, I believe. So this was a Caro-Kann, this line with bishop e3. Okay, usually white is going bishop, or sorry, c3 first, then bishop d3. This is usually how 90% of the games in this variation go nowadays. h5, and white usually castles short. You can also castle long. This line with bishop e3 exists, and the point is that white is saving on the move c2 to c3, and instead is wanting to play the direct c4. Now, as far as I'm aware, knight e6 is the best move, but I can't quite remember if it's before bishop d6 or after. I think it might be here, bishop knight a6, because you're threatening to grab the bishop pair, and white's the best move by white, I believe, is a3, and then the knight reroutes itself to the center. As far as I remember, that's the best. But again, she'll just get one of these sort of comfortable positions out of the opening and proceed to completely dismantle her higher rated, supposedly better opponent. Okay, knight c3. Take. I mean, it must be said, black's position is already quite difficult. It must be said that c5 is a very committal decision, and it's kind of difficult. I mean, these positions in general, you can say that are a bit difficult, especially for lower rated opponents, which is not the case of her opponent, of course. But these positions are a bit tricky for black because you have low space, and again, you just have to sort of sit tight and shuffle your pieces around. Probably knight f8 is the best move. She tries to get active, but it leaves a lot of weaknesses behind. So just queen c2, knight c3, take, and the pieces are just getting into the right places. Bishop e5, doesn't trade. b4, bishop e3. In general, I noticed that her style was quite aggressive, but as I said, she could also play endgames, she could also play defensive positions, and I think she won games in all of those areas in this tournament, so just incredible. Okay, rook d3, I mean, white's position plays itself up to a certain point. She's just consolidating everything, making sure everything is nice and tidy, but then the hardest part is always to win the freaking game. And your opponents are not going to just give away the win for you, and that's where it really gets tough. You have to find something to do, some way to make progress. Okay, they repeat a little bit. Queen g4 plays ambitiously. You cannot take this pawn because of this very typical and old trick. Okay, king f8, c5, great move. Again, utilizing every single opportunity that her opponent gives her to the maximum. So you cannot take twice because the rook's just falling in the end. Instead, her opponent already collapses here. But black's position is nearly unplayable, maybe without the nearly, because I mean, for starters, I'm threatening to win a pawn. just take twice on b6. If you defend that somehow, okay, I can just go c6, get this brilliant, this incredible passed pawn, follow up with b5 behind that, and you're never getting rid of that pawn. You're probably just delaying the inevitable at this point. Your opponent goes queen c7, and well, I don't know if it was if this sacrifice was purposeful or not, but well, the bishop's already really short on squares. I think you can still go to b2, but nevertheless, it's quite bad position. I can just go c6, for example. But she decides to sacrifice a piece. But anyways, this didn't make matters much better. She just consolidated piece up and wrapped up the game. Okay, now let's go on to a later round. I mean, she went on to go 6 out of 6 in the start. Just completely unbelievable. And then finally she lost the 7th game. I mean, this was after the rest day, which is kind of interesting. So after she lost the 7th round, and again, Sabrina Vega was catching up, and there were some contenders at that point, Eline Hovers as well. And I actually thought she was going to kind of slow down and maybe let the tournament slip away. Because, I mean, when you're in such a streak, such a form, I mean, you're just feeding. It's just a vicious cycle where you're feeding on your own wins and just getting so much confidence and playing better from that. You're getting confident, playing better, and then getting more confident from that, and it just keeps going. And finally, between round 6 and 7, there was a rest day, and then she lost in round 7, and I thought that it wasn't gonna go her way, and other players were starting to catch up. But she proved me wrong, because then she drew round 8 and went on to win rounds 9 and 10, which was completely crucial for her tournament. Let's take a look at round 9 against a previous winner of this tournament, also one of the top seeds, Uliva Fatalieva. And this game she'll be mostly on the defensive. Again, we have this opening with bishop b5. She'll be mostly on the defensive in this game, but she'll defend tenaciously and ferociously. Okay, castles b4, queen c8, g4. So white's coming in full steam ahead, probably fully aware of the fact that she needed to win, her opponent that is, to bounce back in this tournament. Knight d7, rook f3, white's coming in full steam, trying to mate black's king. The plan is, in some way, shape, or form, to get this attack on the h7 pawn. Okay, e6, maybe looking to open up things a bit. Bishop e1. Okay, this was not best, but the game's rather complicated. Bishop swings around to h4, f6. And at this point, really, it's anybody's game after the e4. It's anybody's game. And these positions are mostly a matter of being cold-blooded, having good nerves, and calculating well. Okay, so rook c7, knight d3, knight c4, bishop g5, e5, queen f3, looking to get this rook into play somehow. Rook c6, and now finally comes the decisive mistake. So it's quite, I mean, the position is difficult to play for any side, really. Black also has its problems, like the bishop is just stuck on the h8 square, and black is leaving completely after this counterplay on the c2 pawn. The best move, the calm and collected king h1. You need to get the king out of g1, and then you can think to try and somehow mate the king, probably just bring the rook into play on the next move. Okay, what she does is rook c6, rook h6, excuse me. And I'm not really sure what she overlooked, but after knight e3, I mean, if you give white just one more move, queen h3, and the rook's just crashing through. But after knight e3, it's not so clear what her opponent missed. I don't know what she wanted. I mean, she might have missed that after bishop e3, we have this intermediate move that was played, which is rook takes f6, and we crucially get rid of this all-important pawn on f6, which was the main propeller of white's attack and just a thorn on black's shoe. And And you can't really do anything else, that's the thing. Because black all of a sudden is threatening to trade queens with queen takes g4, and she's also threatening to come in with rook c2. Maybe knight e5 was what she prepared. I think about it. Probably rook c2 is coming in. And then if queen h3, yeah, things are not so clear, but I suspect there will be something related to the g4 pawn. How can you do this? Oh, there's just rook c1. Rook c1 ought to do it. Yeah. Just trade it the rook, and then find some clever move. Probably just knight d1. Yeah, and I mean, white's attack is just not enough. I can just take everything. So instead, this happened. The bishop gets taken, and white still has some semblance of an attack, but it's just not enough. The knight is not participating. Rook f4, also a very nice shot. It gets taken, but now there's a lot of problems related to these two connected passers. Black's not even interested in trading queens. Black need not fear white's attack. We should just be, taking all these weak pawns instead. And it's white's king who's going to end up in shambles in the future. So instead, black is what? Just a pawn up here? 4, 4, 6. No, the pawn kind of still even, but white cannot afford to take the pawn because we can just trade, go rook b1, then e2 is coming. And you can't really live that long with these two pawns right up in your alley. And again, another flawless conversion by Anastasiia. Rook d1, and she gets this crucial win on round 9. And now all she needs to do is win round 10 against also another player that was very close to running away with the tournament, Eline Geubers, a very famous Dutch player as well, rated around 2400. So we get a French defense, and basically I'll come right to the critical position. We get this variation where a bunch of pieces get traded, and we get to an endgame quite quickly. I feel like French players kind of like to go into the endgames in general, maybe because they're relieved that they're not getting mated in the middle game. But, well, I would say that black has some chances, I mean, very generally speaking, in terms of the structure, because you have this potential to, let's say, go f6. And, I mean, let's say white, the dream is that white takes in some way and then doesn't have anything concrete to do, such that you can consolidate, bring the king to the center, go e5, and the position starts making sense, and black starts pushing for a win. But of course, there's a million things between you and that dream. And what happens a lot of times as well is that white just gets this complete blockade of the dark squares and just milks a tiny advantage. But more than a tiny advantage, it's the fact that white's position is just much more comfortable. For example, attack the weakness, pin the bishop, trade a pair of rooks, rook b4. So white wants bishop d3 and then rook b7 and so on. I mean, it's black really who has to cater to defend their weaknesses here. White is for choice. And here the decisive mistake came with g6. So you can think, how would you take advantage of this? It's quite instructive, actually. So white played a move, and basically the fate of the game is sealed, pretty much. I mean, maybe the computer will find some ways, some more tenacious ways to defend for black, but as far as I understand it, after white's next move, black is done for. Okay, the move is h6. Just a calm move, not a tactic or anything flashy. Just fixing all these weaknesses in place. And now white will carry out this plan in the game of simply bringing the king over to the queen side, to the king side, that is, threatening to infiltrate, and when black parries that, just g4 and f5 and crashes through on the king side. And we'll see how this plays out. So first black tries to run their king to the queen side. White just fixes everything in place, and then king d2, bishop c6. I mean, black can probably try to break free with f6, but I'm not really sure it's going to help. Probably we can just take, go king e3, and then try and just pounce on this weakness. Black doesn't have enough activity to make up for the loss of that pawn. So instead, Eileen just chose to sit tight. But now the king comes around, and once it finally um, gets blocked, f5, and yeah, I mean the way that she just won this endgame seamlessly against a 2400 opponent gives me some flashbacks of a certain prime Norwegian player. Not gonna say who, but it's not that hard to figure it out. Okay, she grabs the h7 pawn, and again, that's just done for. h7 takes the bishop. Nice finish as always. I mean, doesn't miss anything, even in time trouble or anything. Just doesn't miss anything. And that was pretty much a wrap. So round 11, all she needed was a draw. She played very safely, and pretty much defended a very slightly worse endgame for the whole game, but she wasn't ever really uh, in any danger. So a smooth conversion of the tournament as well. Huge congratulations to her, and this has really been an amazing year for Ukraine, as I've said, which makes me happy to see, given all the world circumstances, world circumstances and everything. It makes me happy to see a um, double champions for Ukraine in this specific year with huge underdog wins as well, which just adds all the more drama and excitement to the chess world. I hope you enjoyed this recap, and I'll see you soon with more videos, guys. Peace out.